There are more than 1,000 islands in the St. Lawrence River. Their beauty and legends have fascinated people for centuries. They're best explored from the air or from the water. The countless chunks of rock are small miracles of nature. Thousand Islands is the name given to one of the most impressive regions in the north of the American continent, in the border region between the United States and Canada, in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. Our discovery of the archipelago starts in Gananoque, the gateway to the Thousand Islands. Shortly before dawn, we meet at the town's small airfield. This is the starting point for a flight across the Thousand Islands. First, pilot Jordan Mole greets the region's best-known photographer, Ian Corriston.
Good morning, Jordan. You all ready to terrorize me this morning? All good. I'm thinking that what we would do is we'd start at the Canadian span and then right across it down to the Summerland group.
Ian Corriston has had one passion and one motif for years, the Thousand Islands from above. Ian is a pilot himself. Today he's setting the route.
And then back to Singer Castle, which is always magic. And then we'll work our way back up to the bay and Bulk Castle and see what trouble we can make down there.
The two men are a well-versed team. Ian looks for the motifs. Jordan ensures he gets the right perspective.
So, Jordan, you've got the catering all arranged?
Of course.
As soon as it gets light, they take off without knowing in advance whether it'll be worthwhile. The only thing that's certain is the best pictures have to be taken early in the morning.
You're not eating breakfast. You're not sleeping in. You're missing cocktail hour. There is no dinner. Maybe a sandwich late at night. So that aspect I didn't like at all. But when you come home with a treasure, and it actually did work, well, that made it all worthwhile.
The Thousand Islands actually number 1,864. They're spread out over 80 kilometers along the St. Lawrence River, which flows from Lake Ontario to the Atlantic.
It's safe to say that you never get to the end of it. There's always a little corner of it that you haven't explored, that you don't really know, and yes, you think you've seen it because you have flown over it, but in truth, it's one of those places, not that big, yet big enough that you never finish.
On his flights, Ian didn't just discover the beauty of the Thousand Islands. He also found a new home. He and his wife are on their way to their very own island. His desire to live here has grown over the years. But as a pilot, he needs a good landing strip and a hangar for his plane. Can his dream even come true here?
They're all granite and pine islands. You can't pull an airplane up on them. And then I found this place and this magical harbor that was exactly a wingspan wide, and I literally had to come with a tape measure to make sure that the plane would fit, and it would with the wings overlapping the sides.
A place to park his aircraft right outside the house on the island. As safe as it would be in a hangar, only without a roof. Ian lives here for most of the summer. According to the legends of the First Nations, the indigenous people, the Great Spirit made it rain heavenly petals, thereby transforming the river into a divine garden. 2/3 of the islands belong to Canada, 1/3 to the United States. One of the best-known islands is Dark Island. 2 nautical miles from the US coast. It's home to the legendary fairy tale palace, Singer Castle. Every year in April, when the river thaws after a long winter and the ice starts to melt, life returns to the islands. Singer Castle is awakened from its hibernation. Caretaker Scott Garris and his helpers opened the house for the summer season. It was built in 1903, based on the example of an 18th century English hunting lodge. Today, it's evidence set in stone of one of North America's most affluent periods. Before the first visitors arrive at the end of April, Scott and his helpers have to get everything ready.
To open to get ready, we can do it in 2 weeks. Repair work adds more time to it. Well, it depends on the weather. Outside is slow because of the weather. When it's raining and wet or snowing, then we just go inside and work for a while. Okay.
The island can only be reached by boat. Up to 25,000 visitors want to explore the mysterious castle every year. It's the only one of the 1,000 islands that was ever built, furnished and inhabited. The owner of Singer Castle was the president of the Singer Sewing Machine Company. A business superstar of his day and one of the richest men in the world back then, Frederick Gilbert Bourne. During the winter months, Scott Garris is the lord of the manor here and the only resident who lives in Singer Castle year-round.
This will be my 13th summer here. I enjoy it. We're busy all summer with overnight guests, with tours during the day, and once winter comes, I like the calm, quiet time because I get a lot of work done inside during the winter. It gives me a chance to get done stuff that we can't do during the summer when there's people touring through the castle.
Almost all the rooms are open to visitors, but few have any ideas of the secrets hidden here.
Right here is a doorway to our secret passageways. It opens right here with this hook. It used to be a coat hanger, or coat hook. Pull up, push in. I'll reach in and turn the light on and follow me right in, please, and down the stairs.
Secret passages like in a fairy tale palace. They had a practical use.
Frederick Bourne used the passageways for his servants to travel through so his guests wouldn't be able to see and hear them all the time. Everyone would like to come up here, but not everyone gets to.
The idea for Bourne's castle came from the popular novel Woodstock by Sir Walter Scott, in which he describes a 17th century castle with secret passages and a belfry.
Every fall at the end of the season, I stop the clock for the winter at 6:30 so both hands are pointing down. That way I don't have to worry about ice and snow building up on them and breaking them off during the winter. And then in the spring, when we know there's no more snow and ice coming, I start it back up for the season.
During the long winter months, Scott often doesn't see a soul for weeks.
Normally, I'm 6 to 7 weeks froze. This winter, I was 28 days frozen in out here on the island. The last 2 years, it was closer to 9 and 10 weeks. I've had overnight guests and tourists say they've seen things and spotted, but there's never been any confirmation of anything. The castle is not haunted, just a caretaker.
The winter often still has a firm grip on the region into April. The residents of Gananoque, a small town on the Canadian mainland, also long for the start of the season. There are just a few diehards who are drawn to the water at this time of year. For the boat builders of Gananoque, Brooke Gibson and her boss Mike Corrigan, this is the best time to do their work in peace and quiet. They restore wooden boats. Most of the boats Mike takes care of have already been in the owners' families for generations. They were built on the St. Lawrence River. Many are more than 100 years old.
This one's a bit of a mess.
He usually needs to take boats completely apart before he can rebuild them.
You can see here this has been starting to deteriorate, so I'm going to have to repair this area. This one seems fine. We'll see when it's over, but it should be pretty close to 1,000 hours.
Mike has worked as a banker and sales manager, but at 35 he switched and learned how to build boats. Since then he's been swamped with jobs.
In this area, you know, the boating season is, you know, really 2 months, and then the shoulder season of June and September. So if you miss that 2 months, then, well, you got 10 more months to work on the boat. So.
Together with Brooke, his apprentice, he tries to manage his jobs as punctually as possible.
So we need some more screws here. We'll have to fill in those 2 holes.
Okay.
But it looks good.
My whole family actually was caretakers for islands for many, many years. And so along with most of the islands came wooden boats. So my grandfather learned how to maintain these boats and whatnot. So when I was little, I just kind of was watching him, and I kind of learned some stuff. I just kind of always thought it was out of my reach, kind of out of my generation. But so it's kind of almost like a dream come true for me. So I mean, it's really, really good. I'm happy.
Repairing old boats isn't enough for them. The challenge comes from new boats based on the old model. The best known type of boat here in the Thousand Islands region is the St. Lawrence skiff, a simple rowing boat from the 19th century that was developed especially for the St. Lawrence River. They're inspired by such a historical skiff. They want to have it on the water again in just a few weeks' time.
Oh, sometimes it's really emotional, like tears and everything. It's something that I learned to kind of keep in mind, you know, in the depths of winter when you're in the bilge of just tearing something apart, and you're like, oh, you just kind of think of the day it launches, and you know, say if it's a family that's had it for generations, and they see their, you know, it's part of the family basically, and to see it go in the water and see them, you know, being so emotional, and it's great. It's just great.
A few kilometers outside of Gananoque, this is the busiest time for George Horton too. George is a syrup farmer and on his way to his sugar bush. Harvest time is February to April.
What you want is warm days and cool nights. You usually want about a +5 during the days and -5 overnight. That lets the sap come up during the day and fall during the night, and then you can get it coming out through the sap.
George first has to check the vacuum pump, which pumps the tree sap directly into a tank. Many Canadians make maple syrup just like George.
Today is a little bit cold. It was about -8 overnight, and it's still probably about -1 or 2 right now. So maybe later in the afternoon, about 4 or 5 o'clock, might start to run. It probably will start to run if it warms up a bit more. But right now, it's just a little bit too cold for sap.
It's the change in temperature that makes the sap flow. Time for an inspection.
One of my challenges is to go throughout the bush. I'll walk through it every so often and just check for leaks. And if there are any leaks, then I fix either this or whatever type of leak that we have.
The plastic hoses run straight from the tree to the pump.
What happens is if there's a leak in this, air gets in, and so the vacuum drops, and then I lose some of the vacuum throughout my system.
For 1 litre of maple syrup, he needs to harvest between 30 and 50 litres of sap. In the past, it simply ran out of a tap into a bucket by the tree.
In fact, there are guidelines as to how much sap we take out. It depends upon the diameter of the tree. Some trees you can put 1 tap in, some trees you can put 2 taps in. I've got some really old trees that are 200-300 years old that I can put 4 taps in. So we're very careful not to overtop those trees, because you can damage or kill a tree if you don't treat them properly.
But George understands his craft. He's the 6th generation of syrup farmers, and the forest has been in his family since 1836. He wants the sugar bush to be in a good state, with strong, healthy trees when he leaves it to his children. That's why he limits himself to 600 trees, although he could tap 3,000.
It's really quite sweet. It's been a very sweet year this year. You can definitely tell the quality by sucking the sap. And interestingly enough, different trees have different quality of sap and different sugar contents. Sometimes older trees will have more sap in them. There's a lot of variation within bush to bush, and also tree to tree, and also season to season.
George's farm measures 170 hectares. A good 18 of them are maple forest. He used to have dairy cows. Today, he just grows wheat and makes syrup in the spring. He produces between 240 and 480 litres of maple syrup a year. That's an average amount. But George cares more about quality than quantity. The sap runs straight from the tank into the vat, where it's boiled.
It's a very sweet, sugary smell. It's an earthy smell, something that you only smell in the spring. It's just the best smell in the world.
The maple syrup is boiled in as pure a state as it comes out of the tree. The duration and temperature determine the final product.
This represents the temperature that I want it to come off at. I want water boils at 212 degrees. I want this to be 7 degrees higher than when water boils, 219, because I think it makes a little better quality maple syrup.
The longer the syrup boils for, the darker it becomes, and the more concentrated its sugar content, which is measured by a refractometer. A brewer in Gananoque is already waiting for a delivery of dark syrup. Everything goes according to plan. An opportunity for a quick break in this one-man operation. When the April sun slowly thaws the land and the river, Fern Fielding and Dom Gao have to check everything's okay on the islands off the coast of Gananoque. The two are cottage caretakers, responsible for ensuring that the island houses, only inhabited in the summer, are in good condition. They maintain them over the winter and open them to the families in the spring. But first, they have to get their boat going.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah. I know, I tried to pull the one out on the other smaller boat.
With water temperatures at just above freezing, they're the only ones on the river today. It's an excursion that's not without its dangers. But Vern has 25 years' experience in the business. He used to be a banker and spent 9 months a year traveling. But when he met his wife, he settled down here. Since then, he's looked after the cottages. His partner Don has worked with him for 5 years.
They both look pretty good.
Yeah.
The bank was just a job, says Vern. This is living. The two take care of 12 cottages for their regular clients. On Matlanta Island, for example, it's been inhabited by the same family since 1875.
need some paint job on that, don't they?
That's not spongy at all, so.
Okay, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's more the flooring, that white pine gets a little soft.
Right.
So we'll probably have to cut some sections of it.
Well, did they double it up at one point too, or?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how far they want to go with it.
Yeah.
You know, it is a heritage cottage. It's going to have its bends and tilts and quirks in it.
Do they sometimes dream of their own island?
Working on an island is a challenge because everything has to come over by boat and be brought up the hill. And so by the time I'm done working on them, I'm quite happy to go home to my own residence. And fortunately, I live on the water, so I don't look forward to owning an island.
We came up here and just fell in love with the river and the boating aspect because just basically it's like being on a cruise. You're out, you don't have any news, newspapers, people to talk to, you know, it's very peaceful. So I don't miss the other stuff at all. Plus it keeps you in shape, except for in the wintertime when we get fat.
They check the summer house too. Sometimes there's damage caused by the winter or animals that get in. The inspection of the old cottage is also a journey into a bygone time, with the odd discovery.
Looks pretty good here. It's closed up. Don't see anything that they need to be concerned about down here.
No.
No, we're pretty good. Well, there's the old deed to the property there, the land sale.
Oh yeah.
There's another one over there, but
Yeah.
they're the original property deeds to this island.
Huh.
It was granted by the
British?
Crown after the War 1812.
Now, who's that fellow?
Well, I would imagine that's the old original Briton that owned the property. Oh, well, that'll do it.
He's open now.
The cottage has survived the winter well.
I don't even know how that was up there.
Oh, I was just sitting on a couple of nails. Let's get out of here, close the lights off, and keep going.
Many cottagers suffer in the winter months from the extreme climate. They mustn't miss anything on their trip across the river. The men have another job. An inhabitant of Sagastawiga Island has ordered a new boathouse. He lives 3 hours away in Toronto and will only arrive when the weather warms up. Even though these houses look comfortable, it's not possible to live here in the winter.
The biggest problem with living on the islands is they don't have foundations under them, so that they get very cold. Unless you have a full foundation, you can't seal it up for the cold coming up from the ground. And also your water pipes freeze, so you have problems with sewage and water and basically cold. I mean, you can heat them, but they're expensive to heat. And that's the biggest problem with year-round. The other thing is, when this is all ice, you can't get out here. So the ice never gets very thick, it's always very thin. So it's not safe to be on.
They've landed a big contract with the boathouse. It'll be another 6 weeks before it warms up.
7 feet.
It'll be framed in and the walls up and the roof on probably in about 2 weeks. So we've got lots of time to get it done. Usually what happens is if the weather's bad a couple of days, we'll work the weekend and catch up. So one way or another, it'll be done on time.
A few kilometers downriver on Hill Island, preparations for the season are at full steam. The most striking building here isn't a cottage, but a viewing tower. It's the highest point of the region, which affords the best panorama of the islands. The Thousand Islands Tower is a real landmark. It's on the Canadian side and only a few hundred meters from the US border. When it was put up for sale 3 years ago, Heidi and Konrad Link, 2 German expats, went for it.
Let's see how well it survived the winter. This is broken. I can glue it back on, but we'll need to replace it for the rest of the season.
I'd like a completely new sign.
Yes?
And I'd like an electric board on which we could write our specials and special events.
Okay. We need to get electricity over here.
Can we do it with solar power?
We can with a battery and a transformer.
The tower is not open to visitors yet. Heidi and Konrad are in the middle of their preparations for the upcoming season. The entire complex was part of an amusement park in the 60s. All that remains is the 138-meter concrete and steel colossus.
It's a super exotic structure. There's no data on what it costs and what could go wrong. We have 2 milestones in the middle future. Once when we've earned enough money so we can pay for a new lift, or when we've paid off the entire structure. That's still in the future, but we're on the right track.
Not least thanks to a life insurance policy which they cashed in.
Konrad was the first to be thrilled by this tower. I always thought it was a crazy idea. I did a lot of marketing for hotels and other organizations, so I gave it some serious thought. I said, you know what's the good thing about this tower? No one's going to build a second one. We won't have any competition. Nobody's going to ask if I can offer a better price, because no one can offer it for less. That was the factor that made me say, let's try it.
But they only earn money here in the summer.
The structure, the tower, was always planned as a seasonal enterprise for the summer. It's not insulated against the cold. The pipes freeze. When it's -20 outside, it's -20 inside too. That's why we can't open in the winter.
They make a surprising amount of money on souvenirs. The visitors from the United States in particular always ask for this one Canadian product.
Our speciality is porcelain depicting the royal family. We never would have thought there'd be a big market for that. But there are people who say, we've got a queen, so they want porcelain with the queen.
To get by financially, they need at least 22,000 visitors a year.
As a child, I was always sent to the highest spot when we went on holiday anywhere or on a Sunday trip. We always climbed church towers and looked around. It's typically German, I think. Germans always want to see things from above. They don't just want to take boat trips. The Americans don't have this culture. They sometimes don't even know what to do with the tower.
The staircase is only there for emergencies. It's 396 steps to the top. Visitors take the lift. At the top, they're rewarded with a view that stretches for many kilometers over this island world, including over the islands on the other American side of the river. Things are busy at the homestead farm. The syrup is ready, and George is busy bottling it.
Usually I'll get anywhere from between 80 gallons up to 120 gallons. This has been an exceptional year. I got about 125 gallons. It's been just crazy this year. I was living in the sugar house for about a week there.
Even the harvesting season was unusually long. George does everything on his own and by hand, including the bottling. A half-liter bottle like this costs $12. He markets his maple syrup on the farm and supplies small shops in the surrounding area. He delivers the big contract for the brewery and Galanoque personally. The brewer ordered several canisters.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey,
We're
George.
going to make the syrup for the beer.
We're excited about this. Oh, it's still warm.
Yeah.
It's come right out of the
Out of the
process.
evaporator.
That's amazing.
And I think it'll make a good beer.
Let's try some. Can we try a little bit of this?
Yeah.
Let's try a little sample of the maple syrup.
Do you want me to pour it, or are you okay?
I don't know. I think this is the one. This is really dark.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which gives it a lot more
yeah.
flavor. Nice dark was what you asked
Oh, Look at that. Look at the color.
Yeah. A nice sort of darkish amber color. It's very flavorful. I think it'll do exactly what you want for the beer. What do you think?
Oh, George, that's great.
Nice taste, eh?
That's
nice
beautiful.
taste.
That's very beautiful.
Bruce failed the first time he tried to make beer with syrup, but that wasn't because of the syrup. The recipe was to blame. 2 months later, the winter blues are blown away. The warm rays of sunshine bring back life to the Thousand Islands. From June onwards, it's not just rich summer visitors who come here. The island residents also return home. The fluctuating population is typical for the Thousand Islands. The island, owned by photographer Ian Corristine, is only habitable during the summer months too. Ian's still exploring the region with his camera. He's fascinated by the beauty and the magic of the Thousand Islands. It was pure chance that he discovered them to begin with.
I was living near Montreal, which is about an hour and a half east of here, and I was in the aircraft business selling airplanes. And I had floats on my plane, and one day I thought, well, take a couple of friends and let's go for a little adventure and go exploring. And we took off from a little airfield west of Montreal, and an hour and a half later I saw this extraordinary, unbelievable archipelago of granite and pine and beautiful deep green water and wildlife and castles, and I was smitten. I couldn't believe what I had seen. How could something so extraordinary be so close to me all my life, and yet I never knew it? And so that began a quest. And that quest took 3 years before I eventually became the luckiest person you'll ever know, finding this island. I started taking pictures to show my friends because they wouldn't believe what I'd found. I said, no, it's true. You should see how beautiful it is. And eventually they began to understand, and people started urging me to do something with the pictures, and lo and behold, a career evolved that I had never expected, never planned for, never trained for, was completely unprepared for, but I'm pretty happy it all worked out.
Ian has already published 7 photo books about the Thousand Islands. Many of them have won awards. He's sold his float plane. He keeps finding new views and perspectives on the river. He often finds them right on his own island. The St. Lawrence River has captivated them both. The island won't let him go anymore either.
One of the things that really fascinated me about the island is that I know that there was a First Nations village on the shore right here. And I always thought, that's only going to become real to me if I find something to prove that they were here. But then a Parks Canada ranger came here one time and he says, you don't need to find any artifacts to know. All you have to do is look at these circles in the rock. These are actually from fires, and some of them are thousands of years old because the rock skims away like this, but it takes thousands of years for it to erode smooth again. And so as soon as I heard that, I was fascinated. The river chooses some. And that's just the way it is. It's a very special place, and if you get it, you're gotten. You can't escape it.
The boat and island owners have returned to the harbour of Gananoque too. Time to put the old wooden boats back in the water. The skiff from 1909 is up first. They spent the whole winter working on it. Just a few finishing touches, and it's ready for its maiden voyage this year. Will it float?
We're just going to tidy this up. I'm going to hook up the bilge pump, which is fairly important. We're going to have it resting in belts at the water, so it can just kind of stay afloat, and we'll see the wood will swell up, and tighten. And yeah, hopefully it all goes according to plan.
A routine matter for the experienced boat builder. But after 10 months in the workshop, the skiff has completely dried out. The first river water it'll get under its hull will be in Brennan's Marina in Gananoque. It's an exciting day for Mike's apprentice Brooke in particular.
Got to set up the
When I first started working for Mike, this was the very first boat that I ever worked on. So yeah, so it's nice to be able to actually see it in the water floating. That's definitely a positive, but it's a little bit sad because, you know what, once you've been working on boats for, you know, months and months at a time, it's almost hard to give them back to the customer because you've been, you know, it's a lot of work.
The securing measures are a job for the boss.
So it's just always a good day to put a boat you worked on all year in the water, especially after doing some major repairs like we did on this boat. So a little apprehensive, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
And then the moments come.
Okay, keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. There we go. Okay. Okay, we're free.
The skiff, which is more than 100 years old, floats. But will it stay that way?
What's up? Good or?
Yeah, there's some coming in right here that
I've never seen like anything trickle in as fast as this boat, but it's alarming at first, but I mean, it's always, you know, the wood's always going to swell, so hopefully that'll become watertight eventually. But yeah, so it's a little alarming seeing it at first, but I have faith that it'll pull through.
Mike's confident too, not least because of his professional reputation.
before fiberglass aluminum boats, it's what you had to do each year. If you had a cottage, you had an old boat, it wasn't a matter of just flopping it in the water and away you go. It took a little care, you know, painting and caulking and letting the boat sit for a little while to swell up, and then you're good for. So you had actual, I don't know, hands-on preparation each year, so you really had a real connection with your boat, I think. I might just be saying that because I'm a wooden boat guy, but.
The St. Lawrence River is one of the most important transport routes for big container ships and tankers to get goods from the Atlantic to the Great Lakes. Despite the narrowness, they're no threat to the small wooden boats. There are specially trained pilots on board who know the route up the river. Their path takes them past Dark Island too. Here stands Singer Castle. Though privately owned, it can be booked for weddings and overnight stays. It's one of the most popular destinations for tourists. More than 20,000 visitors come to the 100-year-old castle every year. The German owner is on site. Ferhat Vladi from Hamburg bought the island together with two friends 14 years ago. He comes here at least once a year for 2 weeks to check up on everything. His 9-year-old daughter, Valentina, is on Dark Island for the first time.
A few hundred years ago, 200-300 years ago, there was nothing here. This island was a rock, and because it has an elevation, it was shady too. This shade always made the island dark. That's why it was called Dark Island.
Und aus diesem Grunde nannten die Natives die Insel Dark Island.
The First Nations were driven off the island 150 years ago. Frederick Bourne, the president of the Singer sewing machine factory and a multimillionaire, bought the island in 1902 and had the hunting lodge built.
This is the entrance to the secret passage. You can go through the entire castle. Look at it. There are lots of stairs all the way to the top.
Owning an island. The man from Hamburg dreamed of that even as a child, never knowing that this dream would become his job one day.
Like every child in Germany, you read Robinson Crusoe, you read Treasure Island and stories like that. That's how I got it into my head that I needed my own island. I couldn't get that idea out of my head. I looked for islands all around the world until I found ones that were for sale. But they were in a different price bracket, so I gave up on the idea. Then I thought I had to recover all of the costs I had, and then I offered the islands in Hamburg.
Successfully so. He sold 2,600 islands all over the world. Together with 5 partners, he just bought Belle Island from the Ralph Lauren family. Even though he calls himself a real estate agent, the rules are quite different when it comes to selling islands.
Every island you set foot on, the trees, they all look different. It's like a painting. You can't measure a Rubens or a Van Gogh by saying he used 100 grams of paint and that's why it's worth this much. This isn't about square meters, it's the look, it's the feeling you get from it, the energy. That determines the price.
The price for an island like this is roughly €1 million, including the house and the furniture. Ferhat Vladi sells islands all around the world, but the 1,000 islands are special to him.
We have a sea of islands here. They're all small works of art in nature. Almost every rock is being used somehow. That's quite rare. The islands are very closely tied to families. I feel the same. The last thing of all our material possessions I would give up is our island. The island is like another child in the family.
And that's why the man from Hamburg spends as much time as possible in the 1,000 Islands paradise, one of North America's most impressive natural landscapes.